guys, welcome back to my channel. I pray that you're all in the best of health and iman. If you are new, welcome. My name is Nafisa. I am a certified relationship and trauma informed coach. Now ladies, today, why does this topic matter? Well, it matters because it's something that we can easily misunderstand. We see people appear one way, but then the reality is something else. And sometimes it's good to be very informed about these things. So again, you don't end up falling into a relationship that you regret, basically. As someone who helps women, both who are seeking to get married as well as the women who are married, my biggest goal is to get those of you who are not yet married making the right decision, because leaving a marriage is not as simple as you may think. Now, I know for you single ladies out there whom this video is mostly for, a lot of people may be like, the reason why you're single is because you're too picky. The reason why you're single is because your standards are too high. We've heard it all before. Drop your standards, so just take any person that comes along. Nobody is perfect. We've heard it all before, and we know no one is perfect, and we know you can't have everything on your list. But hey, that is no excuse for you to misunderstand red flags for green flags. So that's what I'm going to make clear in today's video. Red flag number one that may pose itself as a green flag is the rush. Yes, what is the rush? For quote unquote religious Muslim men, this is trying to quickly rush you into marriage. Like, you've been speaking for 3 weeks and now he's like, well, have you made a decision? You need to come to making a decision. I don't want to do anything haram. And this is the big thing. I don't want to do anything haram. So let's just hurry up, make a quick decision and get married without thinking about it. Now, for context, I just want to make sure I'm very clear on this. I am not big on rushing into marriage with anybody. I don't care how religious you are. I don't care if you studied in Medina. I don't care what the scenario is. Do not rush into marriage with anyone. What does rushing actually mean? That depends on you. How comfortable are you with this man? How much do you actually know of him? Do you feel a sense of pressure to say yes quickly? A lot of the time, one of the reasons why women are also quite happy to say yes extremely fast is because we have, how do I put this? Physical needs. You know what I'm saying? We have physical needs and we want to meet those needs very quickly. A lot of the times before, single adults get married who are observing this kind of like, no physical contact before marriage. Before they get married, a lot of them are, a little bit frustrated in that area. So the idea of someone saying to you, look, let's not commit zina, so let's make this very quickly. It sounds reasonable. It sounds religious. It sounds like, oh, we're trying to protect our deen. Of course. Let's just do what's basic and let's just get married right away. The danger with that though is it may be easy to get married, but it's not easy to leave a marriage. And this is where I'm different from some other coaches, according to what some people have told me, which their perception of getting married quickly is like, yeah, just do it very quickly. Like, what are the two of you waiting for? Just go for it. There is a time where the two of you shouldn't be wasting, but then there is a time where you actually need to figure out at least some basics. You're not going to fully know this man. There's no way. You can't know everything about him. There's absolutely no way. A lot of who he is will unfold once you're already married. But that is not an excuse for you not to do your part in actually taking your time to get to know this person. I think a few months is reasonable for you to get to know a man before you say yes. So the first 1 month that you've been talking is not enough for you to say yes. You haven't even seen the side to this man and how they react when they have crisis, when they are upset, when something happens that they don't like. You haven't spoken long enough for you to even get to know any part of that side of him. The only side of him that you have seen so far is the nice side of him. Everybody brings their best, foot forward in the beginning of a relationship. It's normal. So if you're going to make a decision based on what you see in that first month and you're like, yep, I'm ready to go, don't want to commit any zina, I know it, this is for me, all the best to you. Does it work for everybody? No. Does it work for a few? Yes. It does work for a few. There are a few stories that I've heard of where people have made very swift decisions and it's worked out for them. But for the majority, that's not a good plan, especially for this day and age. The people for whom have been able to do that, a lot of the time they are people like who are much older than me. People kind of like in our parents' generation, where the life then was very different. Now, life is very different. People are not as honest. Men are not as committed. Men are not as serious about marriage. Men aren't even trained about marriage, what to even, in terms of their responsibility, their role, what they're to carry. They don't really understand that yet. Most of what people are doing now to men is saying, you're old enough, go and get a wife and go and marry, without anybody training these men about what they should be doing in preparation for marriage. Marriage takes two. You watching this video right now, I'm sure you watch a lot of relationship style content, you're seeking knowledge, you're trying to know before you leap. But unfortunately, on the other side, there isn't as much effort on the men's side about getting to know as much about marriage, learning, equipping themselves before they also leap. And so that's why you do need to take your time. It's in your best interest as a woman to take your time before you say yes, because once you say yes, you're going to need concrete reasons to actually leave. You can't just be like, I'm not feeling this anymore, bye. Like, it doesn't work like that. This is not dating. So if the guy is quote unquote rushing you because he doesn't want to commit zina, I want you to question the motivation behind marriage. Yes. Question the motivation behind marriage, because yes, the two of you don't want to commit zina. Yes, you want to protect yourselves in those ways. What I would actually teach you is practice self-restraint instead of trying to make quick decisions that you're later going to regret. That's the part that no one's teaching us. They're not teaching us about self-restraint. We live in a society of get everything you want as soon as you want it. This thing, boom, I got it. I asked today, I get it tomorrow. I want today, I get it yesterday. That's the world we live in. Amazon Prime, you order today, you get it within 2 days. If that, even if it takes more than 2 days, we're like, what's going on? Why is it taking so long? It should have arrived like yesterday, right? That is the type of world we live in. However, when it comes to marriage, we cannot be making decisions from that place, because you don't know if the person you're saying yes to is a broken individual, because a lot of controlling individuals are very, very good at what? Rushing women to make decisions quickly. They don't want you to take your time to really get to know who they are, because they know that by the time you really see them for who they are, you're probably going to say no. So they want you to make a very quick decision that is not a decision that you fully considered, right? You just make a decision based on, I don't want to commit zina. I don't want to commit zina, in my opinion, it's not a strong enough reason for you to get married. The next red flag that may be wrapped up as a green flag and a mashallah, he's got gira, right, is protective behavior. You know, protective behavior is a fine line. It's a very, very fine line. If your intuition is telling you that this guy is a little bit overprotective, sis, listen. Don't try to throw it out, because by the time you're in marriage with this person and the full protectiveness comes out, you're going to realize that you're dealing with a controlling individual. Usually, controlling men have major insecurities. That is what leads to the need to further control. The insecurities are what is leading to that need for them to control. And there is a level of control where you're going to begin to feel like you can't even breathe. Like they're not giving you space. Everything has to be calculated. Where are you going? What time are you going to be back? Who are you going to be with? And I'm going to have to drop you. Checking on your phone. Like all of these. And some of these may just sound like, that sounds like normal. You know, I don't mind if my spouse checks on my phone. I don't mind if my husband checks on my phone. My phone is always lying around. Literally, me, Nafisa. My phone is always laying around because I have nothing to hide. So that's not an issue. But if I begin to sense that a man feels the need to constantly be checking on my phone, either they don't trust you or there is an insecurity there. So which of the two is it? If you've not done anything for them to not trust you, then the only other option is this is an insecurity. Let me flip into marriage for a second, because a lot of the times, I know some of you watching are married women, a lot of the times when married people check their spouse's phones, oftentimes it may be because one of the spouse has given the other spouse reason for them to have to check the phone. Women have great intuition, and sometimes so do men. So if your husband or your wife is suspecting that you're behaving in a bit of an off way, they might begin checking on your phone because they can sense that there's something different going on here. And sometimes it may be because of the lies you've told that makes them not to trust you, that then makes them want to double check your phone. Sometimes it may be that they constantly see you casually talking to the opposite gender for no reason. That may make them want to question your faithfulness in the relationship. So yes, sometimes there can be legit reasons as to why someone may want to be constantly checking upon you and not trust you. But on the other side, especially early on when you're getting to know each other and you don't really have any reason not to trust this person, if an individual is like this, if an individual is telling you, you know what, you're going to have to ask my permission before you leave the house, you know what, I want my woman always wearing a niqab and you're not even a niqabi, you know what, I'm not sure about you working because, you know, the environment. What environment? Bro, you work. You both live in non-Muslim countries. You go to work and you mingle with women, but you don't want your wife to go to work and have to mingle with men. Now, if she doesn't want to work, that's a separate thing. But if she's already working, but your requirement is for her to stop working because you don't want any chance at all of her having to mingle, again, it can be seen as religious, but it could be another sign. Alone is not enough. But all of these little things I'm mentioning collectively begin to give an idea of this person could be a very insecure person, and an insecure person leads to controlling behaviors that will come out from them. And you're going to be on the other side, on the receiving end of this controlling behavior. So controlling behavior may be seen as he's very protective, he just loves me, he just doesn't want anybody else around me. But when it begins to shift to not only just men outside, because men outside is a different case, but when it begins to shift with, oh, you're spending too much time with your friends. When it begins to shift into, well, I'm now gonna choose your friends. I don't want you hanging around with that friend, stay at home. Your mom, you don't need to be at your mom's place for this event. It's not that serious, stay home. This could even extend to how he's dealing with you whilst you're talking to each other. So if you might mention, oh, today I'm going out with my friends, we're just gonna catch up, you know, whatever. And you sense his responses is like, he's a bit upset, a bit angry, like his tone of voice changes because you said you're going out with your friends. Or his tone of voice changes when you mention commitments that you have for your families that you do, I would tread with caution, because what that might be insinuating is he's not very happy, he's not very encouraging of you just having a life outside of him. And what that means is control. What that means is a level of insecurity. And you might throw that out and be like, oh no, he's just being protective. But once you get married and he has full control over you as his wife, that is when the reality lands and you realize what you overlooked as not that big a deal is now a massive issue in your marriage. So overprotectiveness, girls, use your intuition. You know when someone is being overprotective. Stop making the excuses. You know, like I said, as long as you have not given them reason not to trust you, as long as you have not given them reason for them to have to be insecure. Because like I said before, it's the other side of the coin. Oftentimes, people give other people reasons for them not to trust them. And then when they don't trust them, they're like, oh, I don't know why you don't trust me. You're talking to different girls every day. I don't understand why you would think that I would believe that you can be faithful. You know, if you're calling girls at night, if you're calling other women at night and you guys are having conversations at nighttime, I don't understand why you think I would believe that you're a man who can be faithful in marriage. You've given me reason now for me to second guess that, because you got your boundaries meshed up. So overprotectiveness can be a real issue. It can look like a green flag, but it can also be a red flag. Just ask your intuition. How are you really feeling about this? If you're not sure, get advice. Marriage is not just a decision you just take just because, oh, I like him. I love. It's not a good enough reason to get married. Love is not enough to keep a marriage together. I promise you. You can love a person and they can be extremely bad for you. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, it's possible that you may love a thing and it would be bad for you. And it's possible that you may hate a thing and it could be good for you. And Allah knows and you know not. So trusting our feelings in terms of, as long as I love him, we're going to be fine. As long as we love each other, he loves me, I love him, we're going to be fine. Love is not enough. The next one is emotional intensity. This is a red flag that can disguise itself as a green flag. What can this look like? It can look like, mashallah, he is so passionate. Like when he loves hard. When people tell me that, I'm just like, okay, let me hear the rest of this before I make a judgment. Because to me, my yellow alarm bells in my head is already going off. Because emotional intensity can be a sign of emotional dysregulation. And emotional dysregulation is basically the inability for you to regulate your emotions appropriately. It's exciting when you first start a relationship, yes, but you still should be able. Most healthy individuals are still able to navigate this and say, okay, let me start thinking with my head and not with other parts of me, like, you know, my heart and other parts. So that I make a good decision here for myself. Most people are able to kind of check in and check out of just that emotional intensity and excitement. But if someone is just kind of like, oh, when they love hard, this is where you begin to see the love bombing, the extravagant gestures, that I've never met a woman like you before in my life, that, oh my God, you are so amazing, where have you been all my life? This feels like depth, but it's actually instability, right? So today's intense emotion could be tomorrow's intense hate. Like, if they love you and they go all in, they could just hate you as much tomorrow and go all in there as well. There is no regulation with this. It's very all-consuming. And like I said, at first, it may just feel amazing. And a lot of the times you will have women who have suffered from trauma in some way, women who have insecurities. They are the ones who actually fall very easily into this trap, because all of a sudden no one's given them this level of attention before, and this man is just like, she's the best thing ever. And the woman's just like, oh my God, I've never felt this way. No one has ever been into me like this. Like, he's almost consumed. He's almost obsessed by me. He has to call me 50 times a day. He's got to talk to me every single second. Like, he's always asking about me. He's always going above and beyond. That's a sign of love bombing, sis. Okay? Because a man can be very into you in the beginning, but there is still regulation in his emotions. You can see him making sense of things, speaking sense at times, because he too wants to ensure that he's making the right choice of a wife. But when a man just seems to be all in, oh my God, you're everything, you're this, you're that, pull back, sis. Take your time. This is not a green flag. That means he loves me. He's the love of my life. This is my soulmate. Let's just jump. That means let me take my time and let me figure out what's going on here. This is some genuine real love is not like this. This could be a person who has other major insecurities, issues. This could be a controlling person who's trying to love bomb you. So again, by the time you're in and you realize who he is, it's too late for you. A lot of the time, this overwhelming show of love, people do, whether consciously or subconsciously, people do it just to get you to come in. And then once you're in, they're like, okay, I'm safe now. And then it all drops. Then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, he was so into me before when we was dating. He was doing X, Y, and he was going above and beyond. All of a sudden I feel like I'm dealing with a different person. Like, who did I marry? Exactly. Because you did not pay attention that this complete overwhelm isn't normal. It's not how normal, healthy love looks like. Healthy anything is not all consuming, all, you know, extravagant or extremely over the top. You can sense a sense of balance with what is healthy. Anything that is extreme requires for you to hold back and requires for you to observe. Take your time. Whatever pressure you have, whether it's the pressure of I'm getting old, whether it's the pressure of I need to have kids quickly, whether it's the pressure of everybody's asking when am I going to get married, whether if there is something in you saying I need to take my time, then take your time. Because like I said, once you're in, it's not that easy to just hop out. So I'm not saying don't ever marry anybody who shows these signs, although that's what I would advise for you to preferably do. But I'm saying, if you're sensing this, take your time and get advice. Get another counsel, whether your mother's advice, someone you trust, a trusted friend, a counselor, a coach. You can literally book single sessions with me and just be like, Nafisa, this is what I'm seeing. Like, do you think I should go ahead with this? Because this is what I'm sensing. And again, having another voice, a more rational voice who's not emotionally entangled in this, can help you see things more clearly. That's the goal, because sometimes even you struggle to see things clearly because you're emotionally involved. The next one is incredibly important, and this is isolation tactics. Isolation tactics sometimes come in a way that you don't even see them coming. They just suddenly are there. You suddenly realize, oh my God, I'm isolated. And by the time you realize you're usually in too deep, what does this look like? It could look like, I don't want anybody knowing about us. I don't want you discussing us with anybody. I'm a very private person. I don't want anybody to ever know about our relationships. Whatever happens between us should stay only between us. Promise me you'll never talk about us anywhere else. And you might be like, yeah, okay, fine. Like, I'm sure we're gonna be okay. You say yes, sis, that's dangerous. That is dangerous. Because again, insecure men oftentimes do this a lot. For me, when I hear this, it's a clear red flag. Because someone who trusts that they are going into a marriage with no intention to harm, knowing that they are not someone who's going to harm, are not going to have a problem with you talking to somebody else. This is different from you going and always telling your issues and your business to other people. So, having said all of this, what does real love actually look like in terms of that dating phase? Well, one word that I would use is steady. It's steady. It's not chaotic. It's not rushed. It's not forced upon, right? It's not all consuming, all intense or nothing. It doesn't isolate you, and it doesn't require for you to shrink and become small to accommodate it. In fact, I don't think I emphasize that point enough, but we will have a separate video on that, because too many women are shrinking to accommodate insecure men. Why? You know, I know that it's difficult these days to find men who match our level of effort, our level of drive and things like that. I feel like a lot more women are more driven than men, unfortunately. I could be biased, you know, I could be biased. I don't know all men, so I can't say all men, but it would appear that way. But luckily at the same time too, I would say things are slightly beginning to shift, because men are realizing that actually it benefits them for them to be ambitious, to stay healthy, to thrive, to take care of their families and really be real leaders. They're beginning to understand that that is important. And I think the more we make that as a requirement, the better for, you know, the whole family unit at large, because we need our men to be stable and ambitious and thrive and so on and so forth, right? But it's very important to understand that healthy love does not require for you to have to shrink, for you to have to be small, stay silent, you know, don't talk, check you every second. Because like I said before, it's extremely exhausting being with an individual who has many traumatic past that has led them to become very insecure. It's exhausting. And if we want to avoid those people, it literally comes at the stage of making that decision. The women who are now in marriages that they're second guessing whether or not they made the right decision, is because at that stage of making a decision, they did overlook some of these things, and now they're having to live the consequences. And I think sometimes we think these things are not big deals, right? Because there are things you will compromise. Not everything will be your way. So sometimes you see some of these signs and you're like, oh, it's not that big a deal. But then when the full picture shows up in marriage, you're like, oh, I made a wrong mistake. But now it's not as easy as saying, oh, I made a mistake, so divorce now. In Islam, you've got to have legitimate reasons for divorce. So I always encourage you ladies to look carefully, think carefully, pray carefully, get good counsel and good advice before you leave. So my final message to you ladies is, please trust your gut. Yeah, that thing called your guts, that thing called your intuition. As long as you are not someone who also has a traumatic past. Because sometimes anxiety can be confused as our gut instinct, right? And some of us have been so single for so long that when a real potential shows up and it's like, okay, we've been talking for 6 months now, it's time for us to move this along, right? We're still like, oh no, I'm not ready yet, I don't think so. Can we wait? Can we give it another 6 months? And we keep delaying this. Like, sis, if you're delaying your engagement by a year, either this person is wrong for you, or you just need to let him go, because you are going to fall into sin if you keep delaying this for a year plus. I don't think that that's reasonable. So in terms of timing, I feel like a few months is very reasonable. A few months to 6 months is reasonable enough for you to say, okay, I agree, let's do this, or I don't agree, let's move on. Don't be wasting a whole year trying to figure out if somebody's for you. Like, what are you going to figure out in a year? You know, unless you have distant relationships and it's complicated. Otherwise, for most general people who talk regularly, or the man comes over and sees the family regularly, so you get points of interaction regularly, you don't need a whole year to figure out if this person is right for you. The most important thing here is self-control. Self-control is very important. I know it's hard. I don't care what has happened in your past. I don't care how you've fallen. But moving forward, sis, that's what you need. You need that level of self-control. I know the desire is there. I know. But please, you've got to make a decision from the right place so that you're not regretting it. So don't just jump into marriage because, you know, we don't want to commit zina. And it's better for us to be married and do this than for us not to be married and do this. But like I said, you could go about it that way, but then you're going to have problems in your marriage from day dot. So let's just avoid that altogether, and let's just look to put ourselves into healthy relationships. So ladies, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless all my single ladies out there with righteous husbands who will be good for them, good to them, and the coolness of their eyes. Ameen. If you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you in my next one. Assalamu alaikum.